This meeting is being recorded.
Cool. Thank you, Alex, for joining us today. And he will be the speaker and teach us the topic will be follow your passions, lead with your heart, and innovate with, yeah. So I would say, yeah, thank you, Alex, for joining us. And please take over the show. Yeah.
I will, but I have a little bit of housekeeping, I suppose. Dom, after I'm done, do we go to a Q&A session?
Yes.
Okay, great. Cool. Just wanted to make sure of that. All right. So thank you so much, Dom. I love what you're up to with X Reality and the academy that you're getting off the ground. And when I was still at REI, I said I would be a mentor. I would like to still try to do that. I am so busy at Blue Origin. We call it Blue. So if you hear me just say Blue, I mean Blue Origin. But I'm still very interested and excited about the possibility of mentoring. Again, I love what you're up to, and I love how you are bringing value to people through that service. We need more people like you out there democratizing the space and making these technologies more accessible. And I'm going to touch on that just a little bit in my presentation.
Yeah.
So I'm going to first just talk about me, and then I'll jump into the slides. And I'll probably still talk about me during the slides, obviously. So anyway, gosh, I've been passionate about these technologies my entire life. I've been waiting to have the capabilities that we have now. I'm excited about some of the capabilities that are over the horizon. I feel like this is, for mankind, we're like in a transitional period. This is very important what we're up to right now. And I think everybody gets it that's on this call. I definitely picked that vibe up from all the introductions. And if you're tuning in later, I feel like we're all in a special club. And back to the title of my presentation, where I say lead with your hearts, I feel like we all need to connect and help each other out and fill the gaps in. We all have areas of expertise. And I love the way that we can work together to achieve our various goals and to bring our dreams into fruition. I originally went to film school. I have a number of shorts and documentaries to my credit. I struggled as a filmmaker living in San Francisco, making ends meet. No surprise there. This is in the early 2000s, before it became so as expensive as it is now. But I then got involved with mobile very early on, before iOS and Android, and produced a number of applications. Started out with the ringtones and premium SMS, like we would send you a text message that you would subscribe to, like Spanish word of the day or certain recipes. I did a ringtone called Dead Ringers. We had the company I worked for had the monophonic license to Grateful Dead music. I then went on to produce a number of enterprise and consumer apps for iOS and Android, and worked for a number of exciting startups doing lots of different things. You go to my LinkedIn profile and take a look at that. I ended up in retail in 2013. I moved from San Francisco to Seattle to work on a video game called Forza, the car racing game for Microsoft. I got laid off after 6 months. They brought me into a room, or brought all of us into a room, and said, see ya, just kind of a bummer. And I took an opportunity as a contractor at REI, working on their consumer app, and quickly met Peter Newell, our head of emerging technologies, and he organizes a thing called Innovation Days. Innovation Days is really where I got my start in spatial computing experimentation. I should quickly jump back in time to the first spatial computing example that I saw that blew me away. It was around 2005, 2006. It was from Red Bull. And they had something set up as a marketing campaign on their website where you used your webcam to point at an advertisement. And I can't remember, it was a larger format print magazine like Spin magazine, if you remember that kind of rock and roll mag, that was a bigger, not your regular old size magazine. And you pointed the Red Bull advertisement at your webcam through their website. I'm guessing it was a Flash implementation. I don't think they were doing the HTML5 then, but when you did, their Mini Cooper with the Red Bull soda can attached to the car was mapped to the newspaper, to the magazine. I was so blown away by that, and it stuck with me. For my first innovation days, you know what? Now's the time to jump to the PowerPoint. So enough of looking at me. We're going to jump to innovation days. That's my first slide in the PowerPoint. So let me hit share screen. And then I'm going to launch the PowerPoint. You should see my background right now, but let's launch the PowerPoint. Okay, very cool. Dom, can you give me a heads up that everybody sees that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, terrific. All right, let's jump into that stuff. So it was really these quarterly hackfests that we had at REI, where REI was a culture of innovation, and I have to credit Peter for really making that happen. In the top left corner, you can see the virtual try-on from Wannabe, wana.by. Alex Nevedovsky was the co-founder of the company and personal contact of mine. Wana was really the first to do try-ons. So this is native app based. They did it for, I think, iOS first, then Android, and it wasn't running on ARKit. They had their own algorithms to do that. And mind you, before ARKit or ARCore, respectively, there were companies out there doing AR. There was Layer, they were from the Netherlands, that was LAYAR. And there's also a developer from Chicago that had a startup called Thing, THYNG, where you could insert images and have like photo collages that were floating in 3D space. So these are the early days. This was around the demo that you're looking at in the top left corner of that slide was, I think 2015. So I guess the early days. In the bottom right-hand corner was a proof of concept I did with Amazon Sumerian. I think Sumerian has been sunsetted. It was an AWS service, or it's been rolled into something else over at AWS land. And I programmed a model. One of the really cool things about Sumerian was they had these prefab models that were off the shelf, ready to go with animation rigging points, and also a technique called SSML, Synthesized Speech Markup Language, where I could insert text into my code, and then similar to HTML, inside of that code, program gestures that the character would make. I wish I had video of this. I don't, unfortunately, but this is a still shot of the Android device that was running the Sumerian session with the model that I had set up to, when I scanned barcodes, it would recite the product information that it fetched from our product description repository internally that we had at REI. So she read the description of a sleeping bag, and then she made the heart symbol on her chest, saying it would keep you warm at night. So these were some early experimentations that I did in spatial. So there's 3 bullets here. The next one is the in-store employee notes that I have a video for on this slide. This was a proof of concept for managers leaving notes for the people that showed up in the morning. So if they didn't finish cleaning up, or if there was something that needed to be set up, they would have beacons waiting for them that I programmed to be proximity based. So the notes wouldn't pop up until you got into, I think, 20 meters. And then they would be read until you, the gaze sensor was focused on it. Then it would switch to already being a note that was red, both READ and RED. So it was red and it was red. So the biggest hurdle with implementing that was getting it aligned to our Active Directory credentials and mapping it to respective store employees. But it's got everybody thinking. It was really exciting. Some of the other things that I did with the Torch SDK along these lines for in-store retail were placing markers on the ground so our visual merchandising teams could instruct store employees on the exact location on the store where displays would be set up. So both of those were very exciting. And our in-store retail team and our visual merch teams took the ball and did more experimentation with the Torch SDK templates that I built for them. There were two tracks that I had at REI with spatial. I had my digital twins and initiatives along those lines, as well as leveraging scans and inserting information into them. Our in-store scans were a boost during COVID, so we could share with our customer base that we were COVID friendly. And it also gave me funding to experiment further with ways that I could leverage those scans, perhaps for retail initiatives, as well as sharing augmented reality experiences by way of embedding QR codes into the Matterport scans. You'll see that in a little bit. So I think everybody probably read those bullets by now. I'm gonna go to the next slide. This is gonna kick off the in-store scan experience from our store page. You would click that See Inside button that was just there a second ago. I'll let you guys just watch this for a minute. Those are all matter tags. The blue matter tags in any of our in-store experiences were designated for AR. And the green ones are just for points of interest. I really love Matterport. When I discovered it, it was just kind of, I hope my friends at Matterport don't rip me a new one for this, but I thought it was just kind of a clunky thing for real estate people to show off their spaces. But they have a robust SDK and a lot of different ways that you can inject different characters into URLs to reconfigure the experience, which is great. Then the other way that I leveraged my store scan, or excuse me, my scanning initiatives at REI, where I was saying there was two kind of tracks for me at Spatial. Besides doing in-store retail, the distribution centers were just begging for some XR attention. I think DCs are a hotbed for interest for XR. I think there's a lot there. Nia Singh has a company called Obsess, and I want to say they're a premier platform partner of Matterport, leveraging the technology for what she does at Obsess. I think that there's an awesome opportunity to leverage the Matterport platform for distribution centers. So these are two scans or two side-by-side experiences of scans that I did of our DCs. Our DCs are huge. And I'm saying R as if I still work at REI. I still feel like I'll be REI for life, but I'm no longer there. The DCs are like 600 yards long. So the ability to capture that and share information with the various teams that are there and what is happening inside of the DCs, as well as embedding safety information. We have a lot of dangerous equipment inside of the DCs, like a pallet wrapper where you take boxes off of a truck and put it onto this pallet that is like 6 feet tall by maybe 4 or 5 feet and can weigh a ton. This big arm comes in and wraps plastic around it. Well, if you got caught on that, you could get your arm ripped off. Sorry to be so morbid, but you could actually bleed out and die there in the DC. There's a lot of hazards, so we have to be very careful in the way that we function. So leveraging spatial computing by way of Matterport scans is a great way to do that. And there are other technologies out there besides Matterport. There's a company called BMO, and there's another company called Preview 3D. BMO and Matterport have their capture devices, where a company like Preview 3D leverages the data collected from those captures and then offers a suite of services that you can then do various things with that. And I also want to mention another company called worlds.io, where they then can take that data and then analyze that and analyze performance of individuals inside of the respective scanned environments for safety hazards, as well as it takes somebody, they'll look at the way a person moves throughout a warehouse or a construction site or a oil rig and optimize that using AI, perhaps designating a smoother path or the way that teams should be operating more efficiently. I think it's pretty amazing how you can do a scan once and then get various, there's various ways that you can leverage that and get a lot of bang for your buck. I think that's pretty awesome. Here's an example of what I did in our Goodyear DC3, embedding spatial information from Dozuki, which is a SOP suite that lets companies manage their standard operating procedures. And I can embed multimedia content into the scan. Love this. So in addition to what you see here, I mentioned earlier on about security protocols at Blue Origin, where I currently work. Well, REI has a lot of trade secrets and a lot of legal hurdles as well. These were the things I was able to show publicly when I spoke at AWE. And a quick disclaimer, a number of these slides were shared at AWE, and I think this will be the last time I share any of these slides. I felt like there was a lot more that I wanted to say in addition to what I previously shared. And I think this information is very useful. But what I didn't show here from my REI scans was Choose Your Own Adventures that I built out of the Matterport experiences, where I built multiple paths and I created a tree of experiences predicated on the paths that the person selected while they were on them. We use that for job fair training. So, or excuse me, for job fairs to show people how we operate and to excite them about perhaps working at REI. So in addition to the Choose Your Own Adventures that we leverage for our job fairs, in addition to disseminating the SOP information, we also were able to train people that couldn't fly to the Goodyear, Arizona DC, where we had a number of specific equipment to that DC. And when we started to break ground on DC4, which is now going to be in somewhere in Tennessee, I believe outside of Nashville, the contractors were able to jump into the Matterport scans and take a look at some of the stuff that we built and the way that we like to build them. So they didn't have to fly to any of those locations. REI saved hundreds of thousands of dollars just in airfare and housing alone from these scans. So it was a big win. It was something I'm proud of operationalizing at the co-op. This was an early web AR project from summer 2020. I'm nuts about web AR. I say, let's get the app out of the way. You only have a few seconds. Sometimes they say 30 seconds before you lose somebody. I think it's more like 10. So when somebody clicks on something, I don't want them to be prompted to go download an app. So this was an early tent comparison tool that I built, again with Torch, which Torch was kind of a rapid prototyping tool, but we worked closely with them and Eighth Wall, which was recently acquired by Niantic, to use it as a publishing platform. unfortunately, the breadth of devices that we wanted to release this for couldn't execute these sessions to my liking. By the way, if you're looking at this video, watch how I go through this tent in a second. I go inside the tent. I look out from inside the tent, and then pass through, and I just love that. Sorry that I'm nerding out on this. And then the next thing is the buy this tent here button. I'm looking at the Caddis Rapid tent. Then I select the button, and then it launches you to the REI website where you can complete the purchase. I think that's really cool. So again, back to tents. Tents are very hard to make digital twins of, convincing digital twins of. You need to see the tent, you need to see inside the tent, and tents have meshes, so you need to see through the tent and what's beyond it. It's important to execute all that. If you don't execute that successfully, it's very obvious, the uncanny valley thing that we are familiar with. You could see a little bit of drift and float happening there in the z-axis. We've gotten better at handling these things. I shot this in the old lobby of my apartment building because the floor is tile and it offered a grid that I knew the scale of. So it looked kind of funny with that North Face tent passing through the wall. If you go outside and you're in a field, it doesn't have that kind of negative attribute to the session. Again, we decided to scrap this, and we did not go with the multi-tent chooser, but I'm still proud of what I built here, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So here are two models. On the left is the REI Grand Hut 4 and one of our e-bikes. These were built by Seek XR, John Chaney's company that he founded, I believe in Provo, Utah. John, Kyle, and Jim, the VP of Customer Success, are all amazing people that I love. I like to pick companies where there's passionate, dedicated people, and also amazing technology. These guys have both. So this is all WebXR, and the Grand Hut 4 is live. If you use the REI mobile app, I believe it's still live. I haven't checked in a couple of weeks. I don't work there anymore. So I programmed using the state machine that Seek exposed to us. I was able to program these different various forms of interactivity into the experiences. So on the Grand Hut 4, when the user taps on the tent, the rainfly pops off. And on the e-bike, the bags are removed, as well as the fenders, I believe. It's going to do that in about a second. And yeah, bags and fenders, goodbye. So I like setting these things up outside or using places that lend themselves as a grid when I'm designing them. But I also love scattering them about my apartment and putting them in obscure places. I find that to be really fun and kind of a playful way to experience AR. So I mentioned how I did a lot of my early experimentation through innovation days, but the experiences or projects that I was able to operationalize, the digital twins that you just saw that we were able to share with the public, we were able to get funding internally predicated on the money that we would save through this USPS promotion. Yeah, USPS, thank you so much for saving the day, so to say. They offered a, I think, 1 to 3% discount on bulk mailers. So REI has beautiful print media catalogs. I love our catalogs. They're just gorgeous. And we were able to, due to the fact that we would spend a significant amount of money mailing those out, we were able to save money through that USPS promotion with that, what seems like a small percentage discount, but at the end of the day, through the 3 times that we did send those mailers out, we saved $60,000 to $70,000. So that was able to pay for my time to do the research, us to pay the vendor, seek to build and then host those models, as well as the time and effort of all the various REI employees that I needed to wrangle in marketing and the tent designers, as well as the e-bike designers to work closely with us to build those experiences. So thank you, USPS. And in this, there is a, says somewhere about, yes, under section B, subsection 5, multi-mail marriage mailers. So you could probably do really cool marriage invites. I'm waiting to see somebody do AR wedding invites. I don't know how many you would need to mail out for your wedding to reap the benefit of that discount, but it was neat to see them mention that. So right here is the web AR experience that I embedded into the Matterport session. So Matterport works great on a mobile device, but again, I hope my Matterport friends don't get angry at me here. I think Matterport really shines on a desktop. And then if you are viewing it on a desktop and you get to the part of the store, as I mentioned earlier, any of the light blue colored Matter tags that are embedded in our store scans, when I left REI, there was maybe 13 new store scans that supported these types of AR experiences. So if you go to the part of the store where we had tents, you would see the light blue colored Matter tag. If you select that, you'll see the QR code. And if this is on your desktop, you could scan the QR code and then invoke the AR experience. So it's like you're pulling something out of your computer monitor and into your space. I'm blown away by that. I was called the digital alchemist when I created this concept, and I'll take that. I'm happy to be. It's kind of I've been called worse, I suppose. That's kind of a dorky way to look at all that, but it's really powerful, and I think there's a lot that can be done there. Okay. This is Project Topo. It was a joint project, again, with our friends at Torch. This was a bespoke project for them that we embarked on. This was not with the what was the public and released Torch SDK that some of you might have used as a rapid prototyping tool. This was something different that we built with them, but it shows you where I was going with wayfinding. So you can see how we plotted courses, the rock climber's path on a climbing wall. And the idea here was, I don't know if anybody out there is a rock climber, but you could, rock climbers traditionally would have this thing, these crumpled up pieces of paper that they would pass around. And I find that kind of romantic, the idea that there's this old piece of paper that has been shared through rock climbers, and it shows you the path on the climbing wall. Well, this was a way to give it a AR twist, where we would use a marker at the spots where the rock climber would show up to, and then it would invoke the session, and then they can move around and approach the wall and see the path. Walls have where rock climbers climb are not flat surfaces. The path undulates, so there's a lot of learning that we did with the rock climbers on how to handle that for those specific sessions. REI only gave us permission to share this, and we kind of shared it by accident when I was on a podcast with Robert Scoble and Irina Cronin when they launched their book, Infinite Retina. So we sort of snuck these out, and then they were out in the wild. So these were what we were able to share from Project Topo. I had grander ideas where to take spatial computing with outdoor activities. One of them that I was very excited about exploring further was sea kayaking and using an iPad that was mounted to the cockpit of a kayak and a waterproof cover of the iPad. We were able to obtain information, spatial information from buoys that were in the water, as well as GPS data, to then provide tidal information and a path for the kayaker to follow to kayak more in a safer fashion and to have this kind of assistance. My goal was to, this thing I envisioned was to kayak the inner passage from the Pacific Northwest to go from Washington to Alaska through the area known as the Inner Passage, which a lot of people do kayak, and I'd like to do that someday. I'd also like to provide maps for the national parks, and then have social ways to share notes. Also, by the way, circling back to Project Topo, we had a social aspect where the rock climbers could share notes about some of the holds on the wall, like be careful after it rains, this section of the wall is slippery, or be careful where you park, the sheriff is kind of a jerk here. So ways that we could share information and make it useful besides that spatial data. All right. This next experience, again, was built for Matterport, and I came up with a way to leverage the Matterport SDK to show various states of a three-dimensional object in a stationary spot, so to say. So when I kick off this video, you'll see how the tent has a couple different states in it. I think I show what is maybe step 2 and step 4 in the tent assembly experience. And you might notice, if anybody's familiar with Matterport, I'm repurposing the same position in 3D space with different objects, in this case, the tent. And the matter tag points of interest are points of interest on the tent for somebody that might be struggling to set up a tent. Tents are hard to set up. REI made amazing tents, and they still do, and they will continue to make even more amazing tents that hopefully will be less tricky to set up. But as a means to help our customers assemble them, I came up with this tool. And I also was investigating ways to support that offline. So if you're out in the woods and you don't have a data connection, you could scan the QR code that would then invoke the native app client in an offline scenario to then provide this assembly tool. Or you would have the information pushed to you on the app after you purchase the tent, or a couple different routes that would have handled this. So let me click play this video and you can see this in action. So some of the various points of interest that might help you set up a tent. That's me and my friend's backyard in Seattle, where it is very green. Of course, I have an REI t-shirt on. I have a pile of them. And then I move around in space here, so you get to see what I was talking about. And I did this by myself. So I held the same position, moved the Matterport's camera, and then tried to stay put and make it all kind of tie together. And I think in a second I jump to the next phase. So again, in 3D space, there are multiple versions of the tent. You can't do this with the vanilla Matterport off-the-shelf experience. You need to leverage a Matterport SDK, and maybe they'll change that to make that more accessible, but there's a lot you can do with the Matterport SDK. Okay, so that's it for all of my REI stuff. I want to shift gears and I want to show you some of my own or one spatial computing experience that I built on my own. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see Project Card. It was a way that I came up with a technique to, me and my girlfriend at the time would play gin a lot. I love playing gin rummy. And I was traveling a bunch and I was like, sweetie, can we play cards remotely somehow. And I actually, before even doing AR, I was thinking, can I just take the same deck of cards that were shuffled the same way? And then we'd have to mimic each user's card motions, which got crazy first. And you'd have to, if you wanted to play more than one game, you'd have to travel with multiple decks of cards that were synced to each shuffle. Which is just nuts, but that was the way that I first tried to tackle it, which actually sheds light on something that I want to share with you guys. There's Maslow's, Maslow came up with, I think he is quoted with, when you have a hammer in your hand, everything looks like a nail. Well, when you're a spatial developer, everything looks like a potential AR app. So you need to challenge that before going to town on building something. And I try to train myself to do that. So in a second, when I kick this off, you're going to see how the iPad moves over the cards. And then using a technique that I called card jacking, it will replace the cards with another card from a mutual deck that was cloud-based. I had this working with 2 users with 52 cards. I'm not the best developer, and the array that I created in C# to handle that in my Unity implementation running the Vuforia engine, this is 2017 or maybe end of 2016. I couldn't get it working properly with more than 2 decks of cards. You needed to keep the cards separated. Vuforia engine can now handle overlap, so the user could have the cards in their hand with cards overlapping each other to run what you're about to see. And let me show it to you. iPad moves over, it's replacing the cards. I move up and then I press a shuffle button. I bring the iPad back down and it replaces the cards as if a shuffle has been executed. So that was what I was up to. This was an experimentation outside of my work at REI while still working there. And it was part of the Magic Leap design competition that I entered. I didn't win or even make it into like the top 10, but I got a very nice thank you letter from them. And I guess a lot of people didn't even get that. So I should feel honored, I suppose. Next on to my friend Julia B. She has a company called Novabee, and they do lots of things, including pretty awesome AR experiences. So placemaking is a concept of going somewhere in the real world and injecting or superimposing an AR experience or something to view in AR that exists there as a hologram. Some people argue it's not a hologram, but and the only real hologram would be R2-D2 kind of having Princess Leia tell you that message that a lot of us are familiar with. But I still refer to it as AR as hologram. So she built these placemaking experiences where the Black Hawk Lounge is a place in the Tenderloin that had a, oops, I think it just got a little weird. So sorry, I pressed something wrong on my, okay, cool. So again, this was in San Francisco's Tenderloin district, and this was an experience she built. It looks like something got out of whack on my PowerPoint. So in a few slides, you're gonna see another slide from Julia's project, but let's just jump to what my friend Greg built at his company called Trace 3D. What Trace 3D is up to is pretty exciting, and I think this might be one of the first times this is being shown publicly. I believe Trace is still technically in stealth mode. I asked Greg if I could share this, and he said yes. So you capture yourself first with an iPhone in your space. It is able to create anchor points in the 3D space around you through some kind of SLAM implementation, and SLAM being simultaneous localization and mapping to create the world mesh around you, and then handle things appropriately with the kind of experience you're building. So let's take a look at what Greg built.
My name is Greg, and our company Trace creates augmented
Turn the
reality
volume up on this so you
recordings
hear it.
and content, holograms just like this, that are a digital extension of your physical properties. Now, this recording and all of this AR content was made in just a couple minutes on a single iPhone. And with Trace, we can give tours, we can help with training, and create interactive marketing that can be a differentiator for your tenants and customers. Now you'll see that I can move anywhere in this space. And it's easy for us to add digital goods like this furniture here or installations at a low cost. With social distancing and COVID, you can also view this content without getting close to a physical person.
All right.
My name is Greg, and our company Trace creates augmented reality.
So I hope you guys heard that audio fine. I didn't switch a Zoom capturing the audio. I just turned it loud on my speaker. I hope that worked out all right. So that is what Greg is up to with Trace. I think that this is incredibly exciting, and there's a lot of uses, like going back to my distribution centers and spatially embedding information. We could have safety info created for the part of the DC that a person would be in via a Trace implementation. Next is Takashi Yoshinaga. Julia and Greg are friends of mine. I don't really know Takashi. The language barrier definitely puts a hurdle there between us getting to know each other, but I think his research is incredibly important. What I'm about to show you are two things in this video clip. One of them is the Kinect camera from, you might remember on Microsoft, the Xbox One, when they originally launched Kinect. It was sort of a flop on the Xbox, but the DIY community really took the ball and ran with it, and then they relaunched it as an Azure service. So the first clip is going to be the Azure Kinect capturing him holding a teddy bear, and then being viewed through the Nreal Lite. And the second video clip in this video is the iPad Pro with the LiDAR scanner, then playing back the volumetric capture, or sort of volumetric capture in a looking glass, which is basically a volumetric 3D display device, which I'd love to get my hands on. By the way, I ordered my Nreal Lite in November through Verizon, through the Nreal program that they have in place. I still haven't gotten mine. It says the order is being processed. If anyone at Nreal sees this, come on, help me out. Get those glasses to me. So here we go. That's a teddy bear. These are the early days of this, people, so it's kind of pixelated and chunky, and he's a researcher. This isn't anything meant for prime time. And he's shooting video through the Nreal headset, holding probably a mobile device, capturing the video from that. And you can see the occlusion, obfuscating the object properly with his hand moving in the foreground. And here's the next demo with him holding his cat. His cat makes many cameo appearances in his videos, and that is the looking glass device that he is moving around. So I think his work is very important. And here's one more slide from another angle of the Blackhawk project that Julia built, that's in San Francisco's Tenderloin. If anybody's familiar with the Tenderloin, they need more beautiful things embedded in there. That neighborhood is kind of hurting. So looks like something got a little clipped on the side there, but I think you can read this. This is kind of my wrap up to the presentation. I think the democratization of media, courtesy of XR, is huge. I think, as I mentioned earlier, the point of time that we're in, this is kind of a, this is the way I view things, I suppose. But first we had Gutenberg with the printing press, and then transmitting audio and video from the inventions of the late 1800s, early 1900s, from like Edison and Marconi, and a lot of the important work that they did there, as well as Lumiere with full motion projection. And now mixed reality, that is really the next step. I mean, we had the internet, and there was Tim Berners-Lee that got that going. It wasn't Al Gore, people. It was other researchers like T.B. Lee that did that. People that get me stoked that I wanted to show off some stuff from are Greg Tran, Julia, and Takashi. As I mentioned, this is the next big wave, I suppose, of sharing things that are spatially embedded. The canvas is your natural world. I just love that, and it's amazing, and it's accessible. These content creation platforms are relatively easy to build things in, like Spark or the Snap Studio. Metaverse, which is a platform from Alan Smithson. Another one, by the way, that I didn't mention is Worldcast, from a company called KP9 Interactive, and I think Will McReynolds, gosh, I hope I'm getting his name right. He posts a lot on LinkedIn. He has a lot of awesome stuff, and he is also passionate about sharing it. And the Mixed Reality Toolkit, which I use to build things for the HoloLens. So these are all very accessible platforms. And there's a couple slides here that made their way. So click through them. And I just want to say thank you all for your time. And that's it for my slideshow. And that's it for my presentation.
Yeah,
So-
thank you, Alex, for showing us like all your amazing AR work and MR work. Yeah, so anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. You can see like on the right-hand side corner, there's a reactions. So yeah, you can raise your hand and yeah, ask Alex. Yeah. Any questions? Okay,
Well, it's very cool. Very cool work.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, Raja.
Sorry if I said a lot. I'm probably not the best public speaker. I'm getting better. Thank you
No
for being
worries. I
patient.
mean, I feel like, yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, as long as we have something to say and something is valuable, it doesn't matter whether your public speaking skills, good or bad. It just, we convey our thoughts to people. I think that's the most important. And I think you help us to, you know, learn more about AR, MR, and we can see your passion, right? You, on the
Thank you.
side, you work on a lot of stuff and it's all related to XR, similar to me. I feel like I'm juggling a lot of stuff and it's all XR. And it's kind of enhance myself and make myself a better person. Yeah, it's not like, because sometimes we do things just for work, just for paying the bills. But I think I really admire that you know, have a lot of, you know, because usually people travel, you know, on the weekend, but for people who has passion doing XR, you know, Saturday, Sunday is the best day to do, you know, a lot of experimental stuff. So yeah, so this is something that I think it's amazing that you know, work on yourself, and now you are in a really amazing position where everyone are curious, but I understand that. Yeah, so it's all good. Yeah, okay, so
I have a quick question. Well, first of all, amazing work, and you know, I'm wondering if I'm in the right business here, because it looks like so much fun what you're doing, whereas I'm always looking at numbers and business plans and financial models and that sort of thing, which is not super exciting. But
Hey,
my
I have to do that
question-
too. I have to. We have to pay the bills around here, so just saying.
But my question really is, with any type of new technology, timing is so important. What do you, and you said it, we're at the early stages here of AR, VR, XR, making it into the mainstream. What do you think? What do you foresee to be the killer app that allows AR, VR to cross into the mainstream? Because I don't think we've seen that yet.
Yeah, there's a few that I'm excited about. I love what Greg is up to with Trace. I'd love to see that embedded to something like Airbnb, and then people getting busy embedding spatial content to give tours of their Airbnb places to customers, as well as in the enterprise. A friend of mine who I had the pleasure of meeting in Paris a couple years ago, I traveled there right before COVID. In January in 2020, Stefan Gurin, gosh, oh my God, I can't remember the name of his company. I'm hating myself right now. I'm gonna look it up while I'm talking, but he's doing it for sports, where they are doing spatial captures of sporting events, immersive.io, immersiv.io. So for people to see sports, both in arena and at home, so a way to enhance spatial, way to enhance the experience inside of the arena with a totally rad spatial experience, both as a means to view the activity, also as a way to have relevant information provided to the attendee with like path to the bathroom, which place to go to where the beer line is the shortest.
Right.
Social info, like your friend could see you at the stadium across the way and stuff
Right.
like that. And then leveraging that same data for at home. So you can watch the sporting event live on your table. So I think that's really cool. I also think, again, leveraging volumetric capture of a sporting event, I was thinking a good test bed would be like the NBA slam dunk competition, because watching those guys do their slams, this is pretty awesome. So capturing that volumetrically, then anybody just going to a basketball court, because the basketball court is a constant. So essentially it's a marker that can be leveraged. And then keying up that session, and then walking around and examining and speeding up, slowing down, and looking at somebody performing those slam dunks, or even watching the whole game on a court out at your playground. These are things I think of. I was a big time skateboarder growing up. So there are a lot of skate spots that aren't there anymore, that got destroyed, but they were important to me as a skateboarder. So if you could perhaps leverage AI to go back and reconstruct those, and then go to those actual spots and then watch people do those tricks in 3D, or having, in the same sense of what Stefan did by capturing the event where people are shooting skateboard videos. Like let's say somebody did a trick on a handrail, like those railings going down a set of stairs that skateboarders and other like freestyle BMX will do their trick on. You could capture that once and go back to that handrail and go to that actual spot and watch that person do that. So these are things that I'm excited about. I don't know what that killer app is. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg is going to invent it by building a metaverse. I have mixed feelings on all that. Maybe if they get a user installed base that's strong enough over there, people can start building things on their own, and then that attracts you. I'm not sure.
The mass market, it's usually, from, at least from my experience, it's whatever drives revenue. So if there's a commercial application where the board of directors decides, hey, wait a minute, we want to invest in this because we view this as a strategic advantage over all of our competitors, that's where new technology usually finds a foothold. So again, there's a financial incentive there, and then all of a sudden doors open. So maybe it's the Airbnb thing, maybe it's real estate, which is hot right now. So there's a lot of funds available in that space. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's exciting technology, and you know, in 10 years from now, we'll be all looking at this and yeah, okay, well, of course it's here. Of course it works like that. Why wouldn't it work like that?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's start from Raja. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yes, sure. Thank you so much, Dom. Alex, first of all, it's a really, really great presentations, and I loved it. All the projects are really, really very connected, and I mean, with my interest and my passion. So, I mean, whenever you were presenting about the store visit virtually, you were presenting about like you're using a web AR over there, or what? You're using spatial computing in store visit virtually?
Yes, but Matterport is not AR, not VR, although I've run Matterport inside of my Magic Leap, and it's kind of weird, but and you can use it in VR. It is limited. I believe Matter tags are still not supported in the VR session, so you can move around. But you're essentially, when you're inside Matterport, you're kind of in photospheres, and you're hopping from photosphere to photosphere.
Okay.
Although you can export from Matterport what they call Matter Pack, which is essentially a .obj file of the 3D space, and you can take the ball and run with it. Like Preview 3D leverages that for some of the things that they do. But anyway, to get back to your question about what you were what you were saying in the way that I want to say that Matterport isn't isn't web AR. It's a web-based Google Street View, essentially, that was spatially captured using camera. So they have their proprietary camera. You could use also, there's other fancy cameras, the Leica BLK 360, as well as which is like $20,000. The Matterport Pro 2 is like $2,500. Then you can use a camera from Ricoh that just has 2 lenses on both sides that are kind of fisheye wide angle lenses that I think it's just a couple $100. They also have a new device, I believe it's called Axis, where you could have your mobile device in it to perform the Matterport capture. So did that help answer what Matterport is? And
Yep. And I was thinking, do you think if you will create or design that whole store like in Unity 3D or like Unreal Engine so that anybody can experience that store virtually by using a virtual reality headset? What do you think about that?
I think that's one way to do it. We're not sure right now. Like Alan Smithson at Metaverse has been building these like virtual malls. So that's taking what we already know, like you go to a mall and you walk around the mall and you see stuff and you buy it.
Yep.
Which is cool. And I love it. And Alan is a leader in our space, and he's an amazing guy, and he's a friend of mine. And I think that's incredibly valuable work. I'm not sure if that's going to be what people, how they do things. Nia Singh, who I mentioned earlier, is leveraging Matterport scans kind of in the fashion that you just described, with what I would do with the captures from REI. And she's in their, I think, premier platform program. So it's an advanced set of features that they offer for companies that want to leverage Matterport to create bespoke retail experiences. Take a look at Obsess and what they are doing for stores. Also, I believe Ralph Lauren leveraged Obsess or did their own premier platform program experience. So there's a store in the Hamptons that Ralph Lauren scanned and created a virtual shopping experience.
Okay.
If I was, the way that the path that I went down for doing it with REI would be first performing the scan and then indexing all of the items inside of the store using an AI tool, like something from Site, SYTE. They're an Israeli company that have a powerful computer vision implementation for consumer goods. So all of our stores are different. If we were going to do that, I was thinking that we'd either build one store, a special store to be scanned for that experience. But our stores are also beautiful and special. So REI has 5 flagship stores. I was thinking that we would do 2 stores per year and capture them and show off those stores. I don't think it would be like the way that we were doing scans of every new store since spring of 2020 has been treated with a scan. So I don't think it would be every store that you jump into and shop. Like you wouldn't jump to your local REI. REI would have a specific store that you would go to for this.
Yes, got it. I just, why I ask you, because the thing is that I was thinking on the one idea that means we do have for companies like in retail industries, we have warehouses, right? So we can show to the customers about inventories. Like let's say they cannot come from, for example, from New York to here in Los Angeles. So maybe we can share that link to them. So maybe they can visit by themselves in warehouse and they can see all the inventories, like what kind of inventories we have like in warehouse. So that was the really, really great idea on that. And one last question actually before you move. And that is like, you were showing about the tent experience, like or tent visualizations. I was also, as I mentioned in my description as well, like I wanted to make like product presentations. So that is exactly similar to that actually. For that, do you think I should use QR code? So that means anybody go and they can scan the code and they can see that product, like in your case, it is a tent. In my case, let's say any retail product, if they want to experience or they want to see closer from anywhere, then they can go and they can visit, right?
Right. I was mentioning earlier that get the app out of the way. There's a lot we can do with apps, especially with data tracking a user's behavior, so we can make apps better, which is important for selling retail goods. So there's other things under the hood that make apps more attractive to a company. But if the user doesn't have the app, when they go to scan something, I mean, I would download the app because I'm cuckoo about AR experiences, but a lot of people will not make the leap to download the app. So get the app out of the way. There are current limitations with WebXR, WebAR implementations via like with Try-ons. So Seek is trying to, I showed you the Try-on earlier, that was native app from Wana. And there's a few other companies in that space doing great virtual try-ons, leveraging the native app, but I've yet to see a convincing virtual try-on in a WebAR implementation. So Seek XR is getting close. They might actually be closer than last time I saw how far they have gotten with that, but there are technical hurdles with tracking and mapping and then handling all that appropriately with try-on. So there's a lot we can do with WebAR, but there's still some stuff that is better in a native app.
Got it. Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Alex, for all the answers and for all the details.
Yeah. Emily?
Thanks, Alex. That's very inspiring. And I think you have a very can-do attitude. And sometimes the best apps and things you create, you just kind of fall into. So I fell into voice, the company I work with, Sapient X, because I became frustrated. You know, in health, we have a lot of spatial stuff, but we don't have a good human interface, okay? And then even some of the apps you showed, you have to like jump in and do all the stuff on the phone or wear VR glasses. So I kind of like the things you were talking about with the Trace 3D and things that are happening with Unreal and all this, but to me, they're all silent movies, okay? And also I'm bilingual, hablo español. So in all of the apps that I create for health, I always do them in English and Spanish because it broadens the comfort level. And Sapient is working on doing 40 languages. Okay, so wow. I want to find a way to link the spatial world with like the wonderful world you did with the tent, but you know, to bring languages in there, even, you know, like the little Post-it notes that you saw to me as a chatbot, you know, been there, done that, but it's not working. We have to go to the next level. So I'll invite you, if I may, just to kind of review my positioning and how to kind of talk more intelligently on my vision so that I can present it to spatial gurus like yourself. And we'll try and put 2 and 2 together. And also, JT, I put my LinkedIn info in there. I know the Germans are very, very smart. I work for Siemens Healthcare. So move mountains there. I was their first online services manager in Munich.
Great.
So
Great.
and I was married to a German automotive engineer for many years. So I'd like to have an online visit with you and just talk a little, you know, strategy and get your man off the street savvy and lead. But anybody, you know, I'm really looking to work with all of you. All of you are brilliant, all of the attendees here, and it takes a village. It's not going to be any one company or any one solution. We have to do it all together. And just keep us posted, Alex, if there's other things you want to come back and show and tell. We'd love to have you.
Thank you so much. I look forward to getting permission from Blue to share some of the very important work that we're doing. Hopefully I can make that happen. I'll be presenting at AWE in June, but not on any of that work. Me and my good friend Lee Kebler, who works with Kathy Hackle at her company, I think they're called Features Intelligence Group, and he and I are presenting on spatial computing concepts from the movies that inspired us growing up. So
wow,
it's gonna be a fireside chat between the two of us, between Lee and I, with a lot of heavy crowd participation. So that's my next thing that I'll be sharing with everybody. But I look forward to in the future perhaps sharing what I'm up to at Blue Origin.
Cool, that's exciting. Yeah, and I will be in AWE as well. So yeah, we can meet in person. Yeah.
We will.
Yeah, we will. Definitely. Yeah, cool. Yeah, any other questions? Anybody?
Catherine? I saw somebody. No, not Catherine. Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Anyone wants to ask questions? This is the time that Alex is here. So yeah, just take the time. Gigi?
I was just going to ask, you're a font of phenomenal knowledge. If any of the rest of us were wanting to follow this thread, what's the best thing to sort of look, watch, and do to see all of the things that are being experimented with in this space?
So I'm not big on social media. I don't use Twitter. I use I use it. I've had to create proxy accounts for some of the work that I do that leverages Twitter. So I've created those accounts. I quit Facebook in 2010. I feel like that's a badge of honor now, and I'm not trying to be that guy using that as a badge of honor, but I guess I just did. And I use LinkedIn. I don't do a lot of posts myself. I rarely post.
So I
But
feel
I'm
like
big on the
in
web.
looking at things like VRARA and other things, that it's a glut of everything, and you have such a great thread of work in taking a look on how to be doing AR and web VR. So yeah, if there was a newsletter, if there's a
So
thread of great voices to follow.
Right. So my thread of great voices is via what I consider an amazingly curated LinkedIn feed. So that's how I do it. I think that's how Dom and I met. It's how
Yeah.
me and my Renee Schultz, who's at Valorim and a Microsoft MVP in spatial computing. And we're both cyclists, so we connected on Strava. And it's funny how the whole world, you start realizing who you're connected to and how small of a world it is and how we share our passions. In fact, there's something I wanted to say about that, and it was part of Follow Your Passions and Lead with Your Heart. We are so divided as a people right now, especially here in the US with red versus blue, conservative versus liberal. I wish people would just connect on their passions instead of finding walls of these other things that prevent us from connecting. I think all of us connecting on spatial is beautiful. And there's other people have their other respective passions. I want us to just, if it's playing the guitar or riding a bike, but with the spatial computing scene, I want us all to connect and work together. I think this is an amazing goal, and I'm super stoked on.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so anybody who wants to ask Alex questions?
I guess I didn't mean goal a second ago, but I think you guys know exciting goals, lots of goals.
Yeah, I mean, I personally had a lot of like, I don't know, like thoughts and goals. And especially I can say that I kind of have ADHD, so I couldn't really work on one thing for too long. So I kind of cut my hour into different hours and doing different things. So it ends up to be all over the place, but I love it. I mean, I do like hosting, XR events. Everything is XR. And then I kind of, learning all the design stuff and drafting like book, right? And also, yeah, like platform things and all those stuff and self-taught like Unity. So after all those, I feel like, yeah, I mean, work is kind of paying the bill. If you can learn something, it's great, but it's kind of paying the bill. But outside of work, you have a lot of times you can work on yourself. And I would say that, I mean, probably, if you really love something, maybe there's no deadline for something
Right.
to succeed, right?
Right.
So
It can be dangerous.
Yeah.
I burned the candle on both ends because at REI, I spent the past 4 years focusing on spatial, and now at Blue again. So I'm passionate about that work, and there's no off switch for me at night. And then I have my own passions that I'm still trucking away on, and it's amazing and also a little dangerous, but the good kind of danger.
Hey, I'm laughing at all you guys because you're all so young. I wish I was your age and I could do more, because this is a great time to be in tech. Okay, I did a lot of tech. I worked for Gorbachev. I was like one of the first, with the group to do internet stuff, and we didn't know what the hell we were doing, you know. And then I worked for Tandem Computers doing ATM systems, got kicked out of the best banks in the US. So it's just, you know, you just have to, you're doing disruptive technology. Nobody's going to hand you a manual on how to do it. And your
Right.
ideas come from what you know other people like Meta, Facebook, whatever they want to call themselves, are doing wrong, you know. So just you know, keep the faith and partner like you're doing now, and get these creative juices going. And it is timing. You know, I've helped fund a lot of companies in my day that did make money. You know, we had the internet bubble and blah, blah, blah. And I knew it was foolish. I think metaverse real estate is foolish, but people are
I'm
spending
with you.
gazillion dollars in
it's
it. And I
it's
thought,
so
let's get
silly.
real, you know, give each one of these people here just a little bit of money and make some magic and keep it real. So we just have to educate. I appreciate Dom and Gigi and others, you know, that kind of hold the faith and educate and mentor a lot of people to do that and open up opportunities. But I think there's a lot of creative juices, and the technology is just getting better, you know. So we'll just, and I like to actually challenge the technologists here in Silicon Valley, say, yeah, these are great headsets, but you know, they make people sick. Go try it on your grandma. She'll throw up, you know, in 10 minutes. That's my QA test. That's my QA test.
You know, I'm not sure if I mentioned, thank you for all those comments, Emily. They were all great. I'm not sure if I mentioned Mojo Vision, the contact lens company. Did I mention them, Dom?
I saw a lot of LinkedIn posts like about the contest, right? But you
Right.
can elaborate. Yeah.
Right. So Mojo's for real. I did it behind a closed door. I got to check out what they were up to at the last AWE, and Steve Sinclair and I believe Eric over there have kept me in the loop the past few years. We made contact at REI, and they are for real. So when you were saying disorientation and the nausea, the motion sickness that happens from VR, I love AR does not have that because you're still anchored into reality, which is awesome. And I'm very excited about what Mojo has coming down the pike, as well as in With. They're doing soft contact lens. I've yet to see anything from them besides the early versions of the lenses themselves, which I believe are disposable. But a lot of very exciting stuff coming that'll be hands-free AR. So right now we're stuck with what I call the rectangle, holding up a mobile device in front of you. And these are the early days where we're going to get ready for hands-free. So this is all in preparation for that. Snap spectacles, the next generation, whatever it is going to be from Meta, the new Magic Leap headset. There's the rumor on the campfire is that there won't be a HoloLens 3. I don't know about that yet, but we'll see. I know they have something else in store. Alex Kipman is a passionate technologist and a brilliant man, and what he has built with that product is amazing. They pivoted from consumer to enterprise, which I think was a smart move. Magic Leap was kind of a cluster bleep. I think you guys get what I'm saying there, but actually the best AR experience, in my opinion, was still on the Magic Leap headset from Weta, created one of the lead developers, designers, James Everett, for Dr. Gordbort. That game that they built for Magic Leap is still the best AR game experience. It's on a headset that is tethered to the light pack, and it's 4 years old. But if you have an odd-shaped apartment, you could scan your whole apartment. You'll have enemies spawning from your bedroom, coming around the corner to attack you. It's not Pokemon Go. And the best AR game is still that. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent here. I think I lost my original point, but thank you for hanging in there. I think Jim has a question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you not what's next, not what's the best right now, but where do we end up in the long run with devices for this? What will we have? What will it look like? What will it feel like?
Gosh, I mean, Jim, there's so many I mentioned the contact lens. There's Neuralink. Are we going to plug something in and just hijack our brains?
I'm a little afraid of the contact lenses myself.
I understand that. I got over that hump. I was I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about what I saw, so I'm going to let Mojo share it, but I thought it was very benign and uninvasive and pleasant. In fact, let me tell you something that's kind of dorky. When I first heard of that idea, I read a lot, and at night I read on an iPad, and often when I'm dozing off, it'll bang me, I'll doze off and the iPad will hit me in the face. So I was thinking, this is nuts. I was thinking, could I close my eyes and still read my book through the contact lens showing me the text in front of me so I could fall asleep and still,
Or maybe you
know
would
what I
never
mean?
sleep. Maybe you
Right,
would
right.
never
Or
sleep.
maybe I could
Yeah,
subliminally program myself or insert information into my dream state through that
that's right.
technique.
That's right.
But where are we going with this to get back? So there's a contact lens, there's Neuralink, there's headsets that are going to get lighter and we could offload compute to them, either to a local cell tower that might be stacked with NVIDIA graphics cards. So we could do some kind of edge compute. Offload technique, CDNs could come in like Limelight and Akamai to start load balancing that through their networks. They're the backbone, the unspoken heroes of the web.
Mhm.
If you guys are familiar with the CDN space, so it'll be offloading compute. It'll be faster processing and higher resolution graphics and diffractive or refractive waveguides, or I think birdbath style AR in a headset. Glasses is on its way out, but Unreal Light still an effective implementation of that. I don't know. I'm very curious too. I see all the paths we can go down. I am going to continue to experiment with all of those and keep my finger on the pulse. It's all very exciting. I don't know, Jim.
Well, it's interesting to talk about.
It is. It's fun to talk about.
I just wonder if we're going to have end up with a lot of holographic surfaces and projections and so forth, so that it's sort of seamless. We don't even notice it being a device.
Right. There's a lot of different ways to do projection mapping, which is like the redheaded stepchild of XR, where you know where the user is and then project an image that would then reorientate itself accordingly. With multi-users in a space, it gets a little weird. Yeah. But perhaps with applied materials research and 3D modeling, you can couple the two to have experiences where through an opacity layer on that 3D, on that material that is generated, it projects it from the back. So you don't have the silhouette interacting with the projection mapping experience.
Right.
There's a lot of wild ways we can go with this, and I'm very excited about experimenting and learning my way into all of them. Yeah.
Yep. Interesting area.
It is.
Cool. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. Yeah. Anyone?
That was a lot. I think we covered all. I think everybody asked a question almost, seems like. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Alex, for being our speaker today. And yeah, we all learned a lot from you, and wish everything goes well with your amazing career, and hopefully see you pretty soon. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for everything you do, Dom, and very nice meeting everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for the great talk.
Yeah. Thank you.
Everybody.
Welcome.
you.
Bye. Have a great
Bye.
day.
Bye.
Happy Easter if you celebrate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.